Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2. Episode 2. We made it to episode 2, everyone. Congratulations. Congratulations. Pat yourselves on the back. Episode 2 of the Bharat Army Podcast. I am your host, Aashish Gadhvi, and today we will be bringing you another fascinating discussion from the world of Indian cricket as we were all staying safe at home. So today, our topic is a pretty interesting one that we're going to be delving deep into. We are going to be playing fantasy bookers of who exactly is going to get into the Indian team from overseas. Now, how we're going to do this is we're going to go by format because obviously all three formats are so different today in the world of cricket. We're going to be going by formats T20s, one days, and tests. And we're going to be talking to a panel of Bharat Army faithful on who they think should get into the Indian team from overseas players. So this is literally like creating an amalgamation of superheroes. It's like Captain America picking up Thor's hammer and just creating this amalgamation of amazingness. So let's start with our panel today. First, we've got Rav from London. How you doing, Rav?
Hi, Ash. How you doing?
Oh, doing well. Looking forward to this discussion. We've also got another Londoner. We've got Jinesh. How you doing?
I'm all right. How are you, Ash?
I'm okay. Can I just query that behind you? Is that a picture of MS Dhoni hitting the winning sixth in the 2011 World Cup hanging on your wall?
It's my personally signed MS Dhoni winning hit, yes.
Wow. Okay. Don't give your address out on this program, please. And we've also got Kunal joining us all the way from Mumbai. How you doing, Kunal?
All good. Yeah.
Wonderful. And special guest joining us this week. We have Star Sports presenter and ESPN Cricket Info presenter, Eisha Acton. How you doing, Eisha?
I'm good. Special guest. I feel very honoured. Thanks, Ash.
It's an honour for us to have you on this show, Eisha. As I mentioned, we're going to be today discussing which players we would steal from other countries. Probably something we don't need to do. Lord knows there's enough people in India playing cricket, as it is anyway. But for the sake of fantasy booking, we're going to delve straight into this debate today. So let's start with T20s, which I think arguably is probably our weakest game, I would say, with T20s. We've not really done well in T20s as well as we have in one days and, of course, tests, which, you know, we're still ranked number one in the world. But let's start with our picks from this group. So, Rav, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you've picked and why?
Sure. So I went with Rashid Khan from Afghanistan. Reasons for picking him. I just think he's the best spinner in the world in that format. I think, you know, you could probably even class him as an all-rounder. He averages around about 15 with the bat in T20s. Exceptional economy and strike rate. Really, he plays in pretty much every major franchise league in the world. So big game experience and just confidence that I feel that India kind of lack with our spinners in T20 at the moment. I think our spinners, if you look at specifically Chahal, they're quite easy to get on top of and hit. And I think somebody who bowls slightly flatter and who has that experience could be really, really advantageous for the team. Also, I think we've only really got one death bowler who I would say is world class in the format, and that's Bumrah. And I think Rashid gives you that option as well.
I always feel as well with Rashid Khan that it's a tremendous story of his as well, really, isn't it? Coming from Afghanistan, and now he's like arguably, like you're saying, it's not even an argument anymore. He is pretty much the best spinner in the world.
He's the best spinner in the world, and I think they'll make a movie out of him. His story is so inspirational, and really, it's quite hard for spinners these days. If you think of somebody like Ajantha Mendis when he first came on. I think 2008, and he destroyed India, and then within a few years everyone had picked him and figured out how to play him, and he was gone. With Rashid, you know, he's just as hard to pick today as he was in 2016, and when you think of how many games he plays in the format, I can't think of a bowler who wins more games for the teams that he plays in the format than Rashid Khan.
And who would you cast to play him in the movie about his life?
Oh, that's a really good question.
Shahid Kapoor, I reckon. Shahid Kapoor, he's my pick.
Maybe Ranveer Singh or something like that. I don't know. We've been coupled there, I guess, already. So.
Sure. Right. Let's move on to Jinesh now. Jinesh, who have you picked to be your T20 player in our team?
Andre Russell. Reasons for picking him. I think India are shy of an all-rounder in their team. Someone that can bat and bowl. We either have batsmen who can't bowl, or we have bowlers who are absolute rabbits. So I think, and he's a striker as well. I mean, I think he strikes above 150 in T20 internationals. The fact that we have, our top order heavy, we usually need someone, like a Hardik Pandya. Andre Russell would be a good fit where at both ends you're scoring at 15 runs and over for the last 4 overs. So, and he's a fast bowler. He can give you overs as well. Recently in 2020 cricket, or even one-day cricket, we have 5 bowlers, and sometimes that's not enough. So that's why I would pick Andre Russell.
And I suppose as well, Dre Russ, he's become a little bit of a hero on social media as of lately as well, hasn't he? He's a very, very popular figure, arguably an honorary Indian as well, with how many years he's been playing in the IPL.
Exactly, he fits the bill, right? That's the other criteria for selection in the Indian cricket team, social media following. So there you go. That's another another box tick.
Well, Lord knows we have enough players in our team who get themselves in trouble on social media. Kunal, let's go over to you now. And who have you picked to be our T20 player?
So I've actually gone with Maxwell. I was stunned that no one has actually picked him. To be very honest, Maxwell, we all know he has been absolutely destructive. Obviously, the form, whether the reliability factor is less, but I feel if Team India guides him well, the problem with Maxwell has been the team hasn't been backing him and trusting him as much as they should be. So what happened with Mumbai Indians and Maxwell didn't get to play much matches. The few matches he played, he couldn't really perform well. But then when he switched on to Punjab, there was no performance pressure, and you saw he took away the entire season. So that's why I would go for Maxwell. And again, like Jinesh said, I absolutely agree that Indian all-rounders are not ideal all-rounders in terms of being good in both the formats. Both the forms in terms of bowling and batting. So I would actually prefer Maxwell over there. And fielding is absolutely great when it comes to Maxwell. So
yeah, like you're saying, it's really true as well that Maxwell for Punjab Kings 11 is one of the most dominant performances we've ever seen from a player in the IPL.
Yeah. And one more thing, may I just add a point?
Yep, go for it.
Yeah. So actually, if you see the Team India right now, the T20 side, we have great openers, we have great bowlers, we've got a good lineup. What we need is someone who can actually float. So with Maxwell, if we need quick runs at the end, he can actually do that. If we want him to open the innings and place KL Rahul at the end, we can do that as well. So the thing with Maxwell is he can actually be placed anywhere, and that's a plus.
Indeed it is. He makes a good point. Now, one person who definitely knows a fair deal about T20 and the IPL is Eisha. So, Eisha, why don't you tell us who your pick is for the T20?
Okay, so I was in a bit of a predicament, honestly, because to start with, my choice was Mohammad Nabi, and I'll tell you why. So I think, obviously, Team India, we have arguably the best top-order batsmen in the world, but our middle order is an area for concern. And I think someone like Mohammad Nabi, with his wealth of T20 experience, he could really make an impact in the middle order. But I then changed my mind because I could not ignore that the quality Babar Azam could bring to the T20 team. I really think he's well on his way to becoming the greatest T20 cricket batsman anyone has ever seen. And I think his present form, it really plays a huge part in my decision. I think, if we look at the T20 Vitality Blast last year for Somerset, he came away as the top run scorer. Then he continued the form in the National T20 Cup. It was later 2019. I just think his consistent results really prove his worth. And I think with his leadership skills, he's currently the T20I captain for Pakistan. He could be an anchor in the top 3. And he is the number 1 ranked T20 batsman in the world for a reason. I think he's got enormous potential, and I think he could bring a lot of magic to our T20 team.
You've just gone straight to the top. You've gone straight for the creme de la creme, haven't you, of T20 cricket? At the moment, to be honest, Babar Azam, you can't really argue with it. Like, he is just in a league of his own at the moment when it comes to T20 batting.
Kohli, come on, there's a Kohli.
Yeah.
There's someone called
Virat
Kohli.
Now that you've said that, let's open the discussion up to everybody. Like, Isha, like, do we need Babar Azam in our team when we've got players like Kohli and Virat, and we've got Rohit Sharma, we've got all of these great batsmen? Why do we need Babar Azam?
Okay, so I think actually I was reading up on the stats in comparison with Babar Azam and Virat Kohli, and they're very, very, very similar. I get that. And I think, if anything, that similarity, it could work well and produce some great magic. I don't think it's a case of like, we have this, so, we don't need any more. More is always better. And the quality he can bring, he's proven himself on the T20 stage internationally. He is a star in T20. If anything, that addition would be brilliant. It's not a case of like, we already have, the best top order in the world, like, he could work really well with the team.
Now, boys, you've heard what she's had to say. Now, I'm going to be playing the role of BCCI head of selection in this debate, and I will be selecting who our player is for each of these formats. T20 cricket, there is nobody better than Babar Azam at the moment. We've all got to hold our hands up and say that. Why should I not pick him?
I'll tell you why you shouldn't pick him. Because Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, even the guy that I don't really back, Shikhar Dhawan, they're not fortunate enough to play Zimbabwe so many times. Can you imagine if Virat Kohli batted against Zimbabwe the number of times that Babar Azam did?
Hold on, Dinesh. Hold on. Now, you've picked Andre Russell, right? Do you not feel like we've got enough all-rounders who can bat and bowl a little bit in the team? We've got Hardik Pandya, Ravi Jadeja's in and out of the team. Why do we need Dre Ruff?
They're different, right? I've always felt India have had a strong top order. Shikhar, Rohit Sharma and Virat, they bat quite a number of overs. What we have lacked, especially since Dhoni has not been the striker, he once was, is someone that can strike at 150. That's what we need. We need someone to bat 20 overs at the end, and 20 balls at the end, and give us like a 40 of 20 balls, or a 45 of, the number of times India like 150 of 17 overs for 3 down or something, and they end up being like 180, not good enough. We want someone who's explosive.
The only issue with that is that India get a lot of runs a lot of the time in the format and in one-day cricket, but they can't defend it. In T20 cricket, you do need more than one world-class bowler to probably win a title, to win a major title. And that's why, Pakistan, to be fair, have made a lot of semis because they've always had the bowling. I think that's why, somebody like a Rashid Khan instead, I think would actually, it's the gap that India have in the team more than anything else. Because I think Pandya has the ability to strike at 150. He does it for MI quite a lot. But I think the biggest gain to the team would be a world-class spinner who you can bank on. I mean, the guy takes 2 wickets every game. It's a strike rate. That's just reliability, game in, game out.
Again,
so Rav, if I was to go for your pick, Rashid Khan, I would get a world-class spinner for sure. But maybe I just need somebody who can turn his arm around a bit, but still is great with the bat. Maybe somebody like Glenn Maxwell, perhaps?
Smooth.
Here's the thing. I mean, so the thing with Rashid is he's really good, but the reason why he has been at the limelight is because he's playing in Afghanistan. If he had been someone in India, he wouldn't have got the amount of hype and number of wickets that he has right now. Because what happens is the team is not as much as, Rashid is a good player, but the team is not up to the mark when it comes to Afghanistan. In terms of Andre Russell, I would have actually gone for him. That's a good choice, actually. But why I would go for Maxwell is the thing with Russell, it happened with KKR as well. One season he played really great, and he took this season away because of his massive hitting and everything. But the next season, the team went too much reliable on Russell, and that's why KKR didn't even qualify for that season. So that's why I don't want team to be completely reliant on one player. And Maxwell, there is, as I mentioned, there's no guarantee that he's going to play, but so the players are more cautious. I won't just give away my wicket, and that's why I would go for Maxwell. And the thing is, with Indian team, there has been fitness issues in terms of injuries and everything. So if you need a spinner, instead of Kuldeep, you have Maxwell. If you need, someone at number 4, instead of Shreyas Iyer, if he's injured, you can have this guy to go on. And, those quick runs, that's why he's useful.
I was just going to say, Maxwell can't play short pitch bowling, though. That's the only problem with him.
So again, so that's the thing. I mean, Australia should address that thing, and I think Team India would totally do that. I mean, if Team India would have done with, the way Team India behaved with Rohit Sharma, instead of giving him over there, brought him at the opening, and then that's how his career totally had a different kickoff. I think Australia should have done that with Maxwell and, trusted him more. And you see, even with Rishabh Pant, he hasn't performed for a long, long time. Still, they are backing him and, you got to perform, you got to do it. And he would eventually that might be a case. So that's what, if we do it with Maxwell, I think he can perform really great.
Interesting. You've all made some pretty good points here. I've got quite a bit to ponder on this, I would say. Now let's move on to the next format. Oh yeah, go on, Kunal.
It's on a lighter note, but then if Babar actually plays alongside Virat Kohli, he realized Virat is really good, and that might just pull down his confidence and stop performing. So
fighting words.
Wow.
Fighting words. Wow.
For me, Rashid Khan and Babar Azam. Rashid Khan, I think he's played 48 games for Afghanistan. A number of them against Zimbabwe, Hong Kong, Scotland, Oman, weak opposition. So, out of the four, for me, I think, Maxwell, Russell. I mean, my first choice before was maybe even Stokes. I think that's the kind of player we need, someone that can bat and bowl, more than kind of having more of what we already have.
Well, I'm sure we'll be having plenty of discussions about a certain Benjamin Stokes throughout this show. Why is everybody bad-mouthing Zimbabwe so much on this show? Honestly, leave them alone, for God's sake. Right, we are going to move on to the next format, 50 overs. Who remembers that World Cup from last year, eh? I mean, I still wake up in cold sweats every night thinking about what could have been. So what I really want to know is, for the team who now seem to constantly get to semi-finals and finals and just can't get over the hurdle, who is that special someone you're going to nab from another country who is going to get us over the line in the 50-over format? Rav, let's have your pick.
So I went with Quinton de Kock to bat at the top of the order.
Oh, at the top. Wow.
Yeah.
Controversial. Why is that?
Yeah, I'm making a change. So Quinton de Kock, 27 years old, really, really talented left-handed batsman. I mean, I'd bring him in for Shikhar Dhawan. Shikhar's obviously approaching the end of his career, I think. Somebody like Quinton de Kock hits the ball very, very hard, great player of fast bowling. Also, it fixes a big issue India have in terms of this white ball wicket keeping problem, because there's the issue of, do you play Rishabh Pant? Is there Dhoni? I'm sure Jin obviously still wants Dhoni in there. Do you play KL Rahul, for example? I feel if you take the decision and you do it at the top of the order with a top order wicketkeeper batsman, you can solve that issue. Also, the guy's I think he's got 15 100s. At the age of 27, I think Shikhar's got 17 his whole career. So in terms of the numbers, they certainly stack up. Great strike rate in chasers as well. India seem to these days, if the totals get above 300 consistently and we're chasing, unless Rohit or Virat's hitting hundreds, the top and middle order tend to not hit those big scores. So I think somebody like him brings a lot of class, and he's got a great record against both spin and fast medium bowling. So yeah, Quinton de Kock.
And he's another player as well who's got a fair bit of experience playing with the Indian players and in the IPL as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He's last year in the IPL he did really well in a few games for MI. I just think he gives you a different option, and more than anything, he's got age on his side, and he's just a very, very good cricketer. Good wicket keeping, barely puts anything down, and got a lot of runs against England in the Test series recently as well.
Good pick, solid pick that. Jinesh, who is your 50-over player?
So my 50-over player is Pat Cummins. Maybe a surprise to many, but I think, in the last World Cup, people were saying, India lost it because they never had a number 4, etc. Why did I not replace my number 4 then? Because I think India have plenty of batsmen. Shreyas Iyer, Shubman Gill, etc. I think the selectors did not pick the right number 4. Bowling, I admit, India has a great bowling attack. But if you look at the last World Cup, teams were very conservative with the way they played Jasprit Bumrah. They're happy for him to have 30 for none off 10 overs. So I'm thinking if I have another fast strike bowler, our team's going to be happy to kind of defend 20 overs. I don't think so. That game against New Zealand in the semi-final, people blame the batting. I think it was a 220 pitch, 210 pitch. We didn't strike early on. We did not have the ability to get out a class player like Williamson. So hence, I'm strengthening the bowling attack with genuine pace.
Cool. So is the genuine pace the reason why you'd probably go for Pat Cummins over, say, somebody like Mitchell Starc, for example?
Mitchell Starc, I think, is getting a bit old. So, we've probably seen the best of him. I think Cummins, he's sorted his injury problems out. He's become a consistent performer, economical. If the next World Cup's in India, I think he can do the job there as well because, nothing beats genuine quick bowling. And he'll be formidable with Jasprit Bumrah.
Yes, indeed. I actually think that's a pretty good pick. A little bit of a left field dark horse pick, some might think, but I think it's actually a pretty decent pick. Obviously, the number one ODI bowler in the world at the moment is actually Trent Boult, but given the horror show that he had in the World Cup final, I probably wouldn't want him anywhere near the Indian team. Kunal, tell us about your ODI pick.
So I would have picked Ben Stokes. I mean, he was the man of the moment for England when it actually mattered the most. And I think that's where Team India fumbled in the semis. And that has been happening over a long time. I mean, Team India needs someone we need to stop relying on Rohit and Virat for all the runs. I mean, we completely rely on either one of the initial three to be scoring good runs. And if that doesn't happen, it's directly at Dhoni and Jadeja to do the job. So we need someone in the middle order to perform well. We have Shreyas Iyer, who's really the perfect number 4 right now. But I would actually go for Ben Stokes because the bowling factor is actually in. And need not be number 4, Ben Stokes can be number 5 as well. And with all the injuries that Hardik Pandya is having, and again, a good batsman, a sensible batsman, and he wouldn't have played the shot which Hardik and Rishabh Pant played in the semis. So that's why I would actually go for Ben Stokes. And he's a great fielder. I mean, if you watch the catch which he had taken, ICC has posted it, so that was a beautiful catch. So that's
yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yeah, good pick, Ben Stokes. Good pick, him. Isha, who's your man?
Okay, so I went for Kane Williamson. Now, you guys actually put through really, really good arguments, but all the while I was just thinking, how could I not pick Kane Williamson for my pick? I think obviously India lacking intensity in the middle order, and Hardik Pandya is yet to make his international comeback as such. I do think Hardik Pandya is a valuable asset to us, and I think he provides a lot of balance to the team. So with that in mind, I was thinking which overseas player would have that positive influence on the team dynamics right now, and for me it's Kane Williamson. Firstly, if we just look at his composure during crunch time, it's outstanding. It's incomparable with any other player in ODI cricket. I think he was a middle order rock for New Zealand in the World Cup. He calmly led them to the final. He has valuable leadership qualities, and in addition to that, his capabilities on an individual basis, he demonstrates the ability to build on innings. He has patience from the middle order. He forms important partnerships, like we saw him with Ross Taylor, for example, in the World Cup. I think he has a good ability to play in certain situations. And even KL Rahul, when he was preparing for the challenge of playing in the middle order, he publicly stated that he watched videos of Kane Williamson in order to improve and prepare himself. So it just goes to show what sort of, he's just an inspirational, iconic leader. He's a leader, he's a natural born leader, and he leads by example. And I just think because of his characteristics in terms of his calm demeanor, he'd be a great addition to the ODI team.
I think that also when you look at that semi-final loss against New Zealand in the World Cup, I think, to be honest, Kane Williamson really was the difference between the two sides.
Big time. No one can deny that.
Cool. All right. Well, out of the picks that we've had at the moment, we've had, one bowler, one wicketkeeper batsman, one all-rounder, and one middle order batsman captain. So a massive array of differences that everyone's gone to. Yeah. So let's get the debate started now. Who would like to query who?
I agree with Williamson being a class act. My only thing with picking him would be one, you have the pressure of leading or playing for a country as small as New Zealand. Can you do it if you had the pressure of India's fan following? Number two, who are you dropping? Are you dropping Mr. Kohli for Williamson? Who are you dropping? That's what you need to. Who are you? Are you dropping Rohit Sharma or Virat Kohli?
No, I'm not dropping them. That's true. But for instance, if Hardik Pandya wasn't making an international comeback anytime soon, Kane Williamson, he would fit in perfectly. He'd be the perfect middle order addition.
So you're gonna have another player in your team who can only score at a strike rate of 100, basically. So how are you going to beat England?
But this is 50 overs, though, we're talking about. Surely Kane Williamson would come more in handy than somebody like Pat Cummins. I mean, why do we need another fast bowler? We've got an amazing fast bowling attack.
You say we've got amazing fast bowling attack, but that New Zealand game showed you, and not just New Zealand, actually even the game against England, they could not make breakthroughs with the new ball, and that cost them in the end, Yeah,
but don't you think
New Zealand...
Don't you think the semi-final was obviously selection, and had Shami, for example, played on a pitch that was doing a bit, he would have done the business. Because Cummins, I thought Stark would be your pick because he runs through sides, whereas Cummins is economical. But does he run through sides in a way that we need fast bowlers to? Yeah,
but I think him and Bumrah, you have to attack one of them. I was going to pick Archer, but Archer's Archer's sample is too small, right? So hence I'm not convinced. As far as Stokes is concerned, what I would like about Stokes is not his wicket taking ability, not his fielding, not his batting. I want his luck. Dude, if I could get Stokes' luck, Stokes, mate, we have a country. We have a country that has every other religion in the world. Even then, we could not get the luck Stokes got.
Yeah. So that's an additional point for why you should go for Stokes. But then talking about Kane Williamson, so you've mentioned that he has exceptional leadership qualities and everything. But let's be honest, under Virat Kohli, Kane won't be allowed to lead. I mean, Virat Kohli will be the one leading. And if Virat decides to step down, then be Rohit Sharma who's leading. So by no means would that factor be utilized to that extent. And secondly, the team India that we have right now is absolutely aggressive. So I don't think that Team India would suit well under a calm captain like Kane Williamson. So if you remove the captaincy factor, I don't think we really need Kane Williamson in the side.
Okay. Captaincy aside, I wouldn't bring him in to captain the side. I just feel as an experienced captain who's been able to deliver in crunch time, you bring a whole lot of qualities with you. And even if you're not captaining a side, that composure that you bring to a team and that dynamics within the team and the trust they have, even to have someone in the dressing room like that is very, very valuable. If someone like KL Rahul, who watched his videos for inspiration on how to prepare for the middle order batting, if he has someone like that in the team, even if he's not the captain, it's still someone there with the experience, with the composure, and with those leadership skills, even if they don't have the captain's armband.
Okay, what really interested me here out of this debate that everyone's having it out with each other, no one has queried Quinton de Kock. And I think go on, Kunal.
Why in the right mind would anyone rely on a South African player in a crunch game? I wouldn't do that.
That's a good point.
I have against Quinton.
That's a good point. I think the reason I picked Quinton de Kock is I looked more at the issues that India have in terms of the composition of their side. And if you look at the consistent issue around the fan base can't agree, the media can't agree on who India's white ball wicketkeeper should be. And I just thought that this was a way of solving that. And obviously a top class white ball batter at the same time. So yeah, I think he's got to go in there, Ash.
Oh, interesting stuff going into the 50 over format. I've got a lot to think about and lots of different players in there. So no one's even in quite a agreement as to which area India really needs to concentrate on to become better in 50 overs, which is very interesting. Right. So the final format, Test. Now you could argue. I'm gonna argue. I'm gonna get hate for this possibly, but I would actually say that at the moment, India are just a few little ingredients away from being an unbeatable test team. I know I'm saying that from the fact that we've just been whooped by New Zealand, but at home in particular, I think India are a nigh on unbeatable team here. So we're going to need, a magic secret from you guys to take us to that level of being the next, West Indies from the 70s or the Aussies from the early 2000s. Who is going to be that player for you guys that's going to take India to those heights in Test cricket? So, Rav, get us underway. Who is your Test player?
So I thought of something different. I went for Marnus Labuschagne. And the reason I went for Marnus Labuschagne, first of all, I'm not going to bat him at 3, so he's not replacing Pujara, but he will replace Ajinkya Rahane at number 5, who until recently hadn't scored a Test 100 in about 3 years. So I just feel that India need some more solidity at number 5. Also, Marnus Labuschagne, we all talk about Steve Smith and the year that he's had. Steve Smith, I think, scored 800 runs in 4 Ashes tests. Marnus Labuschagne in the Australian summer scored 900 runs in 5 Test matches. The guy's, considering he came in as a concussion substitute, the way he adapted so quickly I just think was really impressive. The way he plays bowling, very patient technique. And I think, for me, Rahane at number 5, I think has given us a lot of solidity on past tours of different countries. But now I think he's probably past his best. So I would probably go for somebody like Marnus Labuschagne, tough cricketer, and also he enables us to be solid at number 5 because we've just not been getting players who can hit hundreds and high scores from below Virat Kohli, really.
And I've been watching that TV show on Amazon Prime, The Test, about Australia. I don't know if any of the rest of you have been watching it, but Marnus Labuschagne in that, he's a real fighter as well. And I think you kind of need characters like that in the dressing room.
You do, and if you look at kind of his story, and he's played a lot of county cricket. He's not the worst bowler in the world as well. I think they probably underbowl him a little bit. He took a few wickets in the Ashes, and just very solid technically. He leaves the ball really well. And when I first saw him, I think it was in that Sydney Test match at the beginning of 2019 when he came in about 3, and we all thought, what's this guy doing? He doesn't belong here. And he ended the year as the highest run scorer in Test cricket for that year. And that's when Steve Smith got all those runs as well. So that's pretty impressive for a kid who's 25. So he would be my pick, yeah.
Lovely. Good solid start in the Test section. So Jinesh, who is your Test player?
So I would have Steve Smith, who I think is arguably the best Test match batsman in world cricket at the moment. This is based on the fact that he has hundreds in India, he has hundreds in England. I thought the way he came back from the match fixing saga shows great Australian grit. I think this is what India need. Where would I bat him? You might say, you've already got a number 3. I would have my openers as Mayank Agarwal. I forgot his name now.
Mayank Agarwal is the one you're looking for.
Mayank Agarwal. I'd open with Cheteshwara Pujara, who has an 100 in Sri Lanka as an opener. I would then have Steve Smith as number 3. If you have a solid top order, the rest takes care of itself. For example, people criticize Hardik Pandya for not scoring runs in Test cricket. Of course, he's not going to score when he comes in at over 30. Of course, Rishabh Pant's not going to score when he comes in at 50 for 5, just after lunch. So I'm a big believer. If you look at India's historical away wins, solid top 3, solid. Even last year, Vihari played, 20 overs without scoring hardly any runs. India won the Test match. So I think we need a solid top order, someone that can play the new ball. I'm not too worried about our team playing in India. As some of my mates always say, you can pick 11 players from Azad Maidan and India will win Test matches in India. So my focus is on winning cricket away, and I think Steve Smith's the man.
I think I've never heard such confidence in Steve Smith that you'd actually move Pujara out of that number 3 position for him.
Stats don't lie. He averages 60 over a long period. And this guy started as a leg spinner. For the first 2 or 3 years, he was a nobody. So the work ethic to get from a nobody to where he is now, it's exceptional.
Well, like you said, stats don't lie. Number one ranked player in Test cricket at the moment when it comes to batting, Steve Smith. Kunal, who is your Test player?
So mine would be the least expected one. It is Kagiso Rabada. I feel he is absolutely an aggressive bowler, and that's the kind of bowlers that Virat Kohli would actually, mold and make even more aggressive in terms of taking wickets as well. And when we talk about Indian bowlers, they are dominating, yes, but for how long would they do that? I mean, I've got the ages over here. Umesh Yadav is 32, Shami is 29, Bhuvi is 30, and Ishant is 31. So we need to look forward and think about the future as well. We do have Deepak Chahar and everyone, but if we have a 25-year-old, a 24-year-old Kagiso Rabada who is already at number 5 in the global test rankings, I think we should go for him.
You know what? That is a left field pick, and it's a little bit unexpected. But at the same time, I do have a feeling that Virat Kohli would actually like Rabada a lot because, of course, they have got into quite a few arguments on the pitch a few times.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, Eisha, who is your Test player?
My Test player is Ben Stokes. And like you said, so India, we are the number one ranked Test team in the world. And I feel like over the past couple of years, we haven't really been able to live up to that title just because of our away record. Like our traveling records are really, really poor. And whether, the spotlight could be put on anyone, whether it's the Indian batsman struggling to cope with conditions or more recently, like in New Zealand in the 2-match Test series. So the spotlight was sort of put on Jasprit Bumrah in the bowling department and Virat Kohli in the batting department. And just for small dips in form or dry spells, it was put on those two. And I feel like the question I asked myself was which player would be able to relieve that pressure from those two? And for me, it was Ben Stokes, of course. I think he's the perfect man for the job. He had a phenomenal 2019. World Cup aside, the Ashes, that is the most memorable, that is so memorable, an incredible, remarkable summer for him. So if we're talking about current form, those sorts of displays are insane. If we're talking about more recently, when England toured South Africa in January, so in the second test, he sealed the deal. He got 3 wickets in 14 balls. And that series overall, 119 runs, 3 wickets, 6 catches, the value he could bring to the squad. And I feel like his role as a bowler, it has really evolved in recent months. So he's generally bowling a bit less, but he's bowling at the most critical stages of the game. And it's like he thrives under the pressure and he makes Test cricket really, really exciting. I think his 2019 was sensational for him, but with his age and the potential there, I think there's still so much more in store. And for those reasons, he was the number one for me when it came to this choice.
Jinesh, your best player, Ben Stokes, your best mate, the world's luckiest man is back in the team. You can say that about one days, but test Ben Stokes. You can't say that about him in Test.
And anyone that watched Headingley, right, should have been run out and should have been given. He was plum LBW, not given. I mean, these sort of luck,
oh my God! We can't put this all down to luck. Come on.
No, okay, forget luck. Yeah, Ben Stokes with the current way India's batting lineup is. If Ben Stokes comes in at 13 for 3 on a green top against Bolt, he's not going to do anything. No chance. Just the way Kohli doesn't do nothing, Stokes ain't going to do nothing.
And for you, I suppose, is Steve Smith the man who would stand up to that 13 for 7 on the green page?
Steve Smith, like Raf says, Manas, quality batsman may be able to do something. For me, Rabada, I like him. He's a great bowler. What's he going to do? We've been chasing less than 180. What Rabada may make you chase less than 150, but with your batting lineup, you're not going to chase 150. If you don't have solid openers, solid top 3, you are not chasing even 120.
But Dinesh, doesn't Kunal have a point though that our bowling attack is aging a little bit though? Rabada actually, when you consider his pace, when you consider his aggression, and you consider his age, surely he is a pretty good pick.
Yeah, actually, the problem with Smith is, the thing is, it'll be somewhat what happened with us in the semis. I mean, team was too much on, that Virat and Rohit would perform, so we can be a little bit relaxed, and suddenly the pressure's on. So I think that would happen if Kohli, Pujara, Rohit, and Smith joins in. So it'll be too good at the top, and then the bottom order might just feel too much pressure. And
So-
I feel to win. Yeah.
Sorry. No, carry on.
Yeah, so I think to win a match, we actually need to take 20 wickets, not just in India, in outside as well. And I feel the kind of aggression that Rabada has and the kind of boost that Virat would give him. I mean, there's too much aggression on the field. And if Virat gets a guy like him, a young guy, I think he can make him one of the legendary bowler.
Apart from this New Zealand series, India took 20 wickets in South Africa consistently and in England. What they could not do was chase 180 runs, right? So quite clearly the problem is runs here. And the thing is, I don't want new players coming in like Shubman Gill and him coming in at 14 for 4 or, ridiculous score lines. I mean, I've witnessed these ridiculous score lines live, surrounded by English fans where India are 20 for 4 at the Oval, ain't got a clue.
Oh, you can hear the pain in his voice.
Exactly.
I was going to ask a question just on Stokes. If the issue is batting, then would you not want a 6 batsman? Because I think India often they go into these series and they think, you know what, we're going to play an all-rounder. But I mean, look, Hardik Pandya, for example, took 5 wickets at Trent Bridge, but the conditions were so stacked against the batting that I think a lot of bowlers would have come in and taken that. And do you need 4 bowlers? Do you need 5? But I just think with India at the moment, it is clearly about batting. And Stokes is a great cricketer, but as controversial as this may sound, I think his biggest value to England is in the shorter formats. I'm not sure it's in tests.
Okay, I agree. But for example, that is the key area, the batting. But for example, in the test series, the 2-match test series in New Zealand, where I'm sorry to say we were overly reliant on Jasprit Bumrah, and he's been a phenomenal player, agreed, but a dip in form like that really sabotaged our chances of winning that series. So that over-reliance, just to get an all-rounder like Ben Stokes as an all-rounder to add balance and to really, we can rely on him for the batting or the bowling. Like I've said, he's really evolved in his bowling. I just feel he's the man of the job just to relieve that pressure and bring some balance.
See, I disagree that the problem was bowling in New Zealand. I think because the batting first innings failed miserably, it made our bowling attack weaker than it actually is. New Zealand pitches flatten out. Had we won the toss, bowled first, I think it's a different ball game. So I still think, we get back to the point, batting. Had we even scored 250, 300 runs, our bowlers, I think, would have done the job like they did in England, South Africa.
The thing is, though, Jinesh, the thing that I'm thinking is in that top 3, we've got Pujara in that rock solid number 3 position, who arguably Test is our best player. So rather than go for Steve Smith, is it not a better idea to go for Marnus Labuschagne instead, so that he can come in slightly underneath that?
Potentially, however, for me, even if you have weak openers and you're 10 for 2 consistently, even if you had Bradman, he would struggle. Even the great Sachin Tendulkar always used to perform when Sehwag or Akash Chopra, if I go back to Headingley, Sanjay Banga, he defended. Sachin then came and made merry, because what you don't want is the likes of Anderson, Broad, Trent Boult bowling at your premium batsmen, right, or your middle order players, or your hitters like Pandya, etc. Within 20 overs of a test match. The idea is to get these guys in as late as possible, right, so they can make merry. Virat Kohli is a different player altogether when he comes in after over 30. Why was Ponting so good? Because Langer and Hayden, gave him the start.
But I feel
Good point.
I feel we can get some good batsmen in the Indian, who have not been picked yet. It might be Shreyas Iyer, it might be anyone to fill in the gap instead of Smith and Ben Stokes. I think we need someone to be so young at 24 and be already at the number 5 rank, which is above Bumrah as well in the test rankings. And I think if he gets the kind of push that Ravi Shastri and the Indian crowd, everyone chanting and cheering, that would be a big boost. And That's why I would feel. I mean, he's been performing well in IPL as well for Delhi Capitals. So I think there won't be an issue with whether he would perform well in India. He knows the grounds well, and he has been performing well over there as well.
I gotta say, Kunal is selling the hell out of Rabada here.
So you have Rabada, right? What will Rabada do? He'll get you a total to chase 30 runs less. Have you got the batting to score 120? I do not think so. Right?
Sure.
That's what you need to see.
We will have to debate this. We will have to debate this further and see for another day who should be our player.
There might
be. Go ahead,
Kunal.
Make a point.
Stu Smith actually gets out early. So what then? I mean, we are still having batsmen who are not able to score to that level. I mean, we can't rely on Stu Smith. Yeah.
Also, who's to say that Kohli wants to play with Smith? He wants to be the main guy. It might cause huge problems in the dressing room.
See, this is the thing, right? So
there's no problem.
You can say that, but Smith has basically come. He used to be the captain, you know. He had the match fixing allegation. He's fitted in perfectly. And this, you know, you make a good point about Kohli wants to be the main man. Yeah, this is why I would not pick Stokes, because Stokes, I think he's at his best because he's the main man in for England. For India, with Kohli around, there's no main man.
Well, Smith.
I tell you what, throughout all of this, throughout this entire debate with all three formats, I keep thinking if there was a dressing room that had Virat Kohli in it, Steve Smith, Kane Williamson, Ben Stokes, I have no idea what would happen in that dressing room. Anyway, that is the end of our debate. So now it is up to me to decide which will be the players that will get into each format. So this is actually really tough, to be honest, because you've all made such good points when it comes to the players. So T20s, tough. I've got to say that my immediate pick probably wouldn't be Andre Russell or Glenn Maxwell. I think that both of them are great players and could add to the Indian team. But, you know, we're looking at those other two. I mean, Babar Azam is in a league of his own at the moment. If you're going to have any player in your team who is just like miles away better than him, surely you want the best in your team. Having said that, though, I think that having a mystery wrist spinner in your team in a T20 is vital to win a T20 match at the moment. And if you're asking me, you know, even though we've got Chahal and Kuldeep Yadav in the team, are either of them two better than Rashid Khan? The answer is no, I've got to say. So for T20, I'm going with Rav's pick. I'm going with Rashid Khan.
Woo! Congratulations.
So ODIs. This was another tough one. We had some great players in there. I mean, as much as, you know, I think it would be amazing to see, you know, Jasprit Bumrah from one end and Pat Cummins from the other end. You know, that would be an attack to die for. I think as well, you know, Kane Williamson, I think would be a fantastic player. But, you know, even when we were debating it, very, very few people actually said, you know, actually queried Quinton de Kock. And when I think about, you know, who would be best in the Indian team at the moment, especially with the problems that we have wicket keeping with Rishabh Pant, 50 overs, Rishabh Pant is just nowhere near reliable enough. I think that you're solving two problems there, keeping and batting. So once again, Rav, I'm going with your pick.
Wow.
Makes the Indian team.
One mind.
I know. Great minds, mate. Test. I mean, as we said already, India are such a fantastic team when it comes to tests. And, you know, we're really lucky to be watching this team in this era. Who is going to be that one player who's going to take us to the next level? I would have loved to have picked Rabada, to be honest. But, I mean, you know, I don't think with our bowling attack, with the fast bowlers at the moment, that Rabada would get into the attack. I mean, same like Steve Smith as well. Like, again, like an amazing player. But I just think that, you know, with that batting lineup that we have in the top order, it's going to be tough. But you know what? I think I'm going to go this time with the world's luckiest man. I think I'm going to go with Ben Stokes. I think Stokes has that little bit that we need in Test cricket to get us over the line. I just think that if you take out Hardik Pandya from that scenario and then put Ben Stokes in that position, I think that we'd have a fantastic Test team. So those are our players making the way into the Indian team. In T20s, it's going to be Rashid Khan. One-day cricket is going to be Quinton de Kock. And in Test, it's going to be Ben Stokes. Thank you very much, guys, for this debate today. It was absolutely fantastic. Thank you again for joining us worldwide, wherever you may be, for episode 2 of the Bharat Army Podcast. Let us know who you think should have made it into the team. Search us up at the Bharat Army on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And remember, guys, stay home, stay safe, and we will see you on the next episode. Take care. Peace.